You've been running the stash in Westwood for the last year and a half, 2 years now?
A little bit better than a year. It was a year in April.
And Walter's been doing it in Red Bank for almost ever. How are you digging it, or are you not digging it?
I mean, I think it's run its course in terms of. I don't have that 9 to 5 mentality. You know what?
Also, comics are not your world, really.
I don't like comics.
Which is weird because you write them.
Yeah. I don't like retail because I don't like dealing with the people. Like when I ran website, that was perfect because I got left alone.
Right.
And even now, a lot of times I'll just keep Albert up front and I'll go to the back and do what needs to be done.
Right.
But yeah, as far as like, there's not much of an upside to it in terms of enjoyment. And the customers, it's weird because like the View Askew people are the normal people. It's the other people that come in and ask the stupidest shit, and you're just like asking if you come into the store. To me, is not a stupid question, but you get asked it constantly. When somebody comes in and it's like, I have my motorcycle helmet. It's up on the counter, and this guy walks by and he sees it and he comes in. And he goes, "You guys sell motorcycle helmets now?" I'm just like, "What are you fucking retarded?" Like, no, we don't.
Do you see any beyond this one? Is it comic book themed?
Yeah. And some kid comes in I mean, when I say kid, the guy's like 19 years old. He asks if and everybody does the same thing that wants to sell comics. They come in and they kind of like look around. Hey, what movie is this you guys got on? So anyway, do you buy comics? And
Making immediate small talk and then fucking launching into their pitch.
So I tell him no, and then he goes, "Well, do you know who does?" And I don't. So I tell him, I say, "Albert, Albert's right there." So Albert tells him, "Yeah, these other stores buy." The guy then turns to me and he goes, "Well, what kind of comics do they buy?" And I go, "I just told you I didn't even know who bought them. Like, what the fuck, man?" And it's like,
leave me alone!
Yes, yeah. I hate, like, I'm so intolerant, and I know that I'm more intolerant than I should be. But it's just like, it's maddening. The dumb questions, it just drives me crazy. I'm like, why can't you just not ask that?
How long do you think before you're ready to throw in the towel? Because when you're done, we shut that store. Because I can't turn the store over to someone who's not part of the inner circle. Like Walter runs the one in Red Bank. I got you to finally come out and run this one. But I think if you were done or you were like, I don't want to do this anymore, I would just shutter it because I can't. There's nobody else to turn it over to. I've run out of friends who are willing to run the comic book store.
That's where it's unfortunate that we have such a small circle, really.
We need a lot more friends so I can turn to them and be like, why don't you run the comic book store?
Yeah, I mean, we got me, you, Walt, your brother.
My brother runs the website business.
Something tells me Mosier's not going to want to take the store over.
No. As much as you hate retail, he hates it even more.
Yeah, Muse, it's not his thing. We tried Muse for a little while.
We tried Muse in both locations for years, and like Muse in the Red Bank store, I mean, granted, this was in this kind of junky days too, but Muse would be the guy who would open the store, half hour, 45 minutes late, which isn't a big deal during the weekdays. But then people would come in and be like, "Oh, fuck, can you watch this? I need cigarettes." And fucking leave.
Yeah, and it's a couple blocks away. It's not like it's right next door.
He would have to go to fucking 7-Eleven, which was like down the street and around the block and shit like that.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly close.
If he was indeed getting cigarettes.
Yeah.
Because if he was scoring, even fucking farther away. That's a dude like getting in a truck.
He was on the train up to Newark.
Yeah, he was never really good at it. He was great for fucking New Book Day. Like when the new books come in, he'd be there with a fucking box cutter and fucking shredding boxes and pulling books out. But then as soon as he looked at them all,
he didn't care anymore.
That was it.
Yeah, he didn't care anymore.
And then he was on a real buying tear for a while, where like we'd get stuff like the Hasbro or Kenner started doing like the large Star Wars dolls again. Yeah. This is like circa like 97, 98 or something like that. And there was like this one Han on a Tauntaun.
Yes.
That was like a Toys R Us exclusive and shit. And we'd have to go to Toys R Us and score them and like deal with guys in the back room to get them early when they first got the shipment in, and then bring them to the store and resell them. Muse like came in and it was like, "What the fuck is that?" And you're like, "It's a Han on a Tauntaun." And he's like, "I gotta fucking have it." And
he wanted it on credit. Yeah, I wasn't going to allow it.
And then which is weird because the store is called Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash,
and he's one of our best friends. Like, get the fuck out of here!
You couldn't give it to him, dude, because he couldn't find. I mean, feel like, dude, I waited at Toys R Us to get this, man. Like, we put a little work into it, and we could turn it around for
at a premium.
$60.
Yeah, at a premium,
total premium, and you want it for free. Then he would scramble the fucking cash together over a couple weeks, come in and buy it. open it there in the store, touch it for a few minutes, and leave it.
Yeah, it's exactly what he did. With that, I remember he didn't have the cash at the time, but he had a girlfriend, this girl Stephanie. Mm-hmm. He took her credit card out of her pocketbook. I was so fucking sick of him asking for it that when he came down, I was like, does she know? And he's like, I was like, okay. And I just ran the credit card. It's exactly what he did. He opened it, he looked at it, and he goes, I'll be back in a little bit. I didn't see him for weeks after that.
I mean, it's not even a case of buyer's remorse. It's like buyer apathy.
Yeah.
Once he bought it, he was just like...
He was completely indifferent.
I touched it. Like, he couldn't touch it in the box because it was sealed and shit.
Yeah.
And, like, every time he'd come in and look at it all wall-eyed and shit, you just knew that he had to have his hands on it. Yeah. And once he actually got tactile with the toy inside the box, he lost complete interest. And he was like, I need drugs instead.
Yeah. It didn't mean anything anymore.
And then kicked his own ass for, like, spending money on that.
Could have been.
As opposed to fucking getting high. It was, I guess, kind of a way to keep the dude from, like, buying junk, but he bought junk instead of junk.
Right.
And then would go buy junk anyway.
And then maybe if he did happen to keep the junk that he bought, he would sell it to get the other kind of junk.
Totally. Like,
yeah, the amount of shit we bought off him for real cheap, like statues and
Which
stuff.
is horrible, because you're like, oh my
So
God, we're kind of funding his habit, but at the same time, we're
turning the sweet buck.
And then he would come back like fucking weeks later and be like, did you sell that Hobgoblin 2-Up model that I had? And I'm like, yeah, dude, somebody bought that already. He's like, oh, all right. Yeah, that was not a fucking great time in that dude's life. And now isn't it fucking like 180 degrees? Like it's
oh my God.
It's almost whimsical to remember that muse, not in a way where you're like, I miss that muse, but like you can't even put it together with current day muse. Like current day muse right now is in Toronto shooting a movie, making a fat fucking salary, and he's going to be there for like 4 weeks. Old time Muse, I would have had to like sit on him for a few months, clean him up, and he'd be working on my fucking flick. But now he's like shot a bunch of
intolerable to be around. Yeah. I've told him that. I've told him that in the past.
When it was terrible.
Yeah, I was just like, I couldn't stand you. Mm-hmm. Like I couldn't stand to be around you. And now
he was like hanging out. Who's the character that Chappelle played?
Oh, that fucking crackhead guy.
Yeah. He was very much like that.
Yeah.
But just now completely fucking different. Like, God bless him, he cleaned up. But it's insane when I think back to that muse and like, oh God, dude, I hated you during that period.
Yeah, I mean, even like, but his personality is like he's so much funnier and so much warmer and just like because he's a really nice guy. Like that guy has the biggest heart,
man.
Yeah.
Nickelhead, $1 Million Heart.
Yeah, I told his girlfriend, I was like, I kid you not, I have seen that guy cross old ladies across the street in Red Bank. Yeah. It's like it's that fucked up.
Even when he was fucking high,
he didn't break his foot helping an old lady across the street.
He did. We were in Red Bank. And we were going to the pharmacy, and he'd helped this woman across the street, and then he turned around to talk to me and stepped off the curb and twisted his fucking ankle. And it was right after, like, he'd helped this lady across the street, and then this dude had, like, passed us in the car, and because we'd, like, held him up from moving beyond us,
right.
The dude had yelled asshole at us, and it was like maybe 2 or 3 beats of him being down the road before I processed it. And then I yelled back, "You're an asshole!" And then that fucking made Muse crack up. And that's where that's from Jane Silent Bob Strike Back, where we're typing, where I'm typing and he's dictating the fucking post where I'm like, he's like, "You are the ones who are the assholes." Because the joke grew into not just simply me going, "You're an asshole," but like, "You are the one who was an asshole a few minutes ago when you passed it." It just kept going and going. But he was laughing so hard he fucking turned and twisted his ankle going off the fucking off the curb. And then the dude was on crutches for like a month. And at first he was hobbling around and shit, and then I had to take him to the emergency room. They're like, "You really fucked up your ankle here." Nutty time. And he was just so delighted because it meant he could get more drugs. Yeah. And after that he was just like, maybe if I twist my ankle again I'll get more. Like that time when we were in fucking out here in California, we came out for like the 99 MTV Movie Awards and shit. And we were staying at the Sofitel on Beverly, across from Beverly Center, and he called up, like, that was when he was real bad, and he wanted Oxycontins, and he fucking called up the emergency room, which was at Cedar Sinai, literally across the street from the Sofitel, and said, "I fell off my bed, can you send an ambulance?" And the fucking the ambulance came to the Sofitel, picked him up, brought him like half a block to Cedar Sinai Emergency Center, And the doctor's like, we see nothing wrong with you. And he was just like, I fell off the bed and I really wrenched my back. Can you give me Oxycontins? And the doctor was like, no, I can't give you Oxycontins. I'll write you a prescription for Vicodin, maybe. And he wrote him a script for Vicodin.
One $1,500 ambulance ride later.
Could you imagine? That was at a time where fucking he would.
Oh, I think I broke my arm.
He was fucking Rodney Dangerfield in Sofitel. I just thank God every day that dude doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's SModcast for this week. I'm Kevin